Is going to be funny and random. Stick around till the end. Let's be everybody. So today, a lot of things are going to happen, but firstly, we're going to start in the Ottoman Empire. Now, for the past two videos, I haven't actually been able to do a real intro because it's been so random stuff. But today may be the last video that's going to happen because tomorrow next video. I mean, like, I'm going to have a real stuff, real theme. Anyway, so if you remember, the Ottomans got a bunch of land out of the Red Team little while back. Today is a little continuation of that, I guess. And basically, a lot of stuff is going to happen. But firstly, you see this little thing. This is very problematic because a lot of these countries are kind of sick of just random countries owning the capital of Athens, as all of them claim leadership of Athens. And so, as Red Team begins decolonizing Athens and wanting to turn it into its own little country, as basically Red Team is taking a lot more better and decolonization stance on the Mediterranean, wanting to more focus on Africa, seeing as how every war they get absolutely cooked by the blue team. Mediterranean with Rome gone is kind of like their playground, so they don't want to focus on it with land as much anymore. So while they're decolonizing this, they're gonna create a new state, two new states actually. First one I think is going to be a red team shade of this, and the second is going to be this. Now, red team knows very well that this is about to become a playground for the Ottomans, and so they don't want to decolonize it fully. So they keep these countries in mind. However, they're not going to do it yet. What they are going to do is announce this plan to see how the Ottomans are going to take. And Ottomans already are going to inform the Red Team of two things. Basically, they're going to inform the Red Team, do not bring your troops up here. We are about to invade this land. And two, your trade might collapse because we're going to shut down this entire area for our war. Now, Red Team isn't keen, but they're happy that at least they were told, which is proving to them that the Ottomans are trustable. Now, Ottoman conquest is quickly going to begin, and the capital of this poor nation is already going to fall, leading to it being completely destroyed. Now, already that's one nation down on the Ottoman hit list. The second nation the Ottomans want is this thing up here to give them a more of a coastline so they can, destroy these countries faster and easier. It's going to be difficult for them to do this. However, before we continue over there, I would like to take this moment to tell you guys to please like and subscribe so we can hit 810 subscribers. Please. We need 5 more subscribers. Only 5. This is quality content, man. Well, okay, not really, but still, please subscribe. Um, we're gonna move to Carthage a little bit because Carthage is also gonna do something. Carthage has just came back from extinction. They did not think they would be back here with the opportunity to compete in this series once again, and so today they're paranoid. I'm gonna be honest, they're insanely paranoid, and the people they see the most as bad to their power is specifically the Balkans. And so they're going to quickly stage a revolution in here as they support multiple rebel groups to basically break out into the south, capturing the capital, forcing the old government to flee into Balkania, and then destroying Albania and turning it into their own puppet state. Here is where that is going to be important. Basically, they're going to do that, and that's one going to give them some land gains on on the exact border of Balkania. Second, they're going to use this to actually shut down this port, saying and heavily taxate this port also. And the Balkans are very mad at this because they want to become a trading nation. So the Balkans are going to look up here and they're going to tell these guys, invade this country. Romanian brothers need to stick together. Because remember, both of these guys are Romanian countries, and so they're both going to invade these guys uh, with the help of the Balkan Romanians and Northern Romania, and together they're going to completely capitulate this whole thing. Now, Romania next wants to the destruction of this puppet state of the Red Team, as they really despise the fact that the Red Team created this state. However, right now they don't have the military for that, as this is the end of their civil war. However, I'm gonna be honest that the civil war is not completely over. The civil war military may be over. However, the economic damage is actually pretty much irreversible just because the amount of infrastructure destroyed is more than these guys can physically rebuild themselves. Like, they don't have the money. They would have to contribute the next 10 years of their GDP to just building that. rebuilding that infrastructure. The original goal was to like help one of these big powers win that little cold war between the Romans and the Red Team, and then those guys went in exchange rebuild some of the infrastructure. However, seeing how fast the Romans collapsed, these guys didn't really have a chance to hop in on the Red Team train, as the Red Team kind of did it by themselves. Anyways, though, the Ottomans are next going to aim for these guys, and this is going to be the first loss of the Ottomans. As while they're doing this, these guys are going to punch right back actually, and they're going to surprise the Ottomans and go through first. Now, quickly, they're going to do very well, organizing many different militias to come work under their military, and it's going to go very well. They're going to get pretty far down the coast over here, almost reaching the city of Athens. Yes, okay, actually, never mind, not even close. However, from here, it's game over, as the Ottomans are going to bust through their defenses, capture their capital and their coastline, and basically just capitulate the entire state from there, and they're just going to annex this. So already, as you can see, the Ottomans are kind of cooking, I'm not going to lie. And seeing this, a lot of people in the Red Team are scared because the Red Team announces a deal with the Ottomans. They basically say to the Ottomans, yo, do you want to buy our part of Athens? And the Ottomans obviously say yes. And right when they say yes, everything goes to hell in Red Team Ottomans. In protests, so much of the infrastructure is burnt, and a full-scale civil war is started against the Red Team, against the Red Team's Athens. So these guys call themselves the Liberation Frontline of Athens, and they're quickly going to capture key cities, and especially this military island of the Red Team, which is a key military base of the Red Team in the Mediterranean, which is going to be a hard hit. Meanwhile, an attack is going to take place on Cyprus, right here, and that is going to kill a lot of people. And then, after some rebel boats arrive, the attack is launched into a full-scale invasion of Cyprus, aiming to destroy as much infrastructure. Quickly, the Red Team forces are going to come and stop those guys. However, as they're fleeing, they decide to make a little quick stop at the city of Alexandria, burning as many buildings as possible before most of them are killed, and the others are sunk while they're trying to get back to their rebel homeland. The Ottomans are going to, well, since they technically purchased this territory already, they're not actually invading it, but figured they're de facto invading it because the people don't really want to be a part of the Ottomans right now. So yeah, while that is happening, the rebel forces and Ottomans are going to clash deeply, and the Red Team is basically going to start preparing these guys for independence, basically being like, yeah, we are not doing this anymore, we just want to out from all of Mediterranean. And as the Red Team evacuates this island, these guys have to now fight the Ottomans for their independence, and after the Ottomans experience a very bad defeat, these guys are guaranteed their independence as the Ottomans are forced to back off. Um, I want the Ottoman color. Yup, I want the Ottoman color, and I want to overlay that with the Red Team color. Okay, this is the new country. This is the color of the new country. Paint 3D, stop lagging. Okay, this right here. This is the new country's color. So Athens technically claims Athens as their capital. This is going to be called Athens for the record. These guys are going to name themselves Athens. And they're going to claim all of Athens, the entire country, the old country from like the previous episodes. They're going to claim all that land as their own. So that includes all of the Ottomans territory, all of this and that. But they're actually going to keep going. They're also going to claim Alexander, some, I don't know what else. I just want to go watch some previous episodes. I just want to remember, how were these guys created genuinely, because I feel like they escaped from like Sicily or like over here somewhere. I don't remember. I frankly don't care either. Um anyways, over here these guys meanwhile are going to get a little comboed, as Romania would invest a lot into their military and launches an invasion of Albania, saying that if Albania is truly not puppets of Carthage, then Carthage should not respond to this. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because let's say they weren't actually puppets, I feel like Carthage would still respond. However, Carthage falls for the trap and they don't respond, losing one of their key allies' is trust, as Albania is left in ruin. However, that does help these guys, Carthage, a little bit, because Carthage now portrays these guys as a villains. killing off small countries for their own gain. While the Ottomans may actually crash out because of what these guys are doing, because these guys are going to now begin their own invasion. One that may actually cook the Ottomans a little bit too much. They're basically going to invade the strongest country in Athens other than themselves and the Ottomans, and they're going to beat them, surprisingly. No one expected this. However, as they get up here, the Ottomans are quickly going to move in to cut them off, not wanting them to get any more land, and they're basically going to quote unquote liberate this stuff. Yeah, I don't know what the Ottomans are doing. You know it's bad when you're using liberation as the excuse. Like, you know it's bad. You know your PR team is not getting paid enough. Um, these guys are going to quickly, I guess, just like take this land. They're just gonna phantom tax that. What did I just say? Okay, let's ignore that. They're going to capture all of this and this. Brainraw has entered the Zillion Plays YouTube channel. That was a one-time thing. Chill. That was a joke. Chill. These guys are gonna capture this. And I think we can end it off for the Ottoman storyline for today, and we will continue in a future episode of what will end up happening to Athens, or the Athens storyline. Anyway, now let's see. Carthage invasion of Volcania. Basically, Carthage wants this guy's gone as soon as possible, and they want their own Mediterranean kingdom. They have Carthage and Rome. The only other strongest cities are the Sinai's capital, on the Mediterranean, are the Sinai's capital, Alexandria, Gibraltar, and I guess I would argue now the capital of Ottomans right now. The others are Rome and Carthage's capital. However, those are already under Carthage's control. The rest are under red team control, who's taking a neutral policy. Ottomans are on the red team side, which is the same side that the Ottomans are on, so they're not a threat. Plus, the Ottomans only really want this land, so they're not a threat at all. So Carthage is basically about to monopolize everything except for these guys. These are a little pain. This is a pain. So they're quickly going to launch their invasion. The Carthage invasion is slow. However, they may actually mess up because a little few rebel Carthage troops get up here, and Carthage is forced to declare war on a country they did not need to declare war on at all, in any way. And so they start going through the Balkan area, and now the Romania is going to basically say, all right, how about this? All the Balkanian people, please unite to kill these kids. And Balkania is going to listen because a lot of them view these guys as their liberators and big brothers. And so Carthage knows that it's only a matter of time to get to the capital of Rome before Rome. I keep saying Rome, Romania, before the rest of these armies get there. So quickly, they're going to make another landing over here in order to neutralize this army before it even gets there, spearheading up and actually getting very close to the capital and eventually capturing the capital completely. Yeah, these guys may be cooked. That's going to be followed by just thickening this up a little bit. They're kind of going to more so like they're going to get their focus. You know what I mean. And then this little gap left, they're going to invade these guys from, which is instantly going to make these guys like chill out a bit, and they're gonna be like, yo, chill, chill. We're not in this war. Trust. And Carthage is gonna back up. Or these guys are scared because their capital may actually get absolutely destroyed. Over here, Carthage is going to pull a very big Uno reverse card on these guys, as they're going to completely destroy these guys' coastline, which is not good. And then they're also going to start spearheading towards the capital, leading to these guys suing for peace and Carthage annexing these territories temporarily until they have beaten Balkania. They're going to continue their Balkania? I mean, Romania. So they're going to continue their invasion, and eventually they're going to get all the way over here, after which they feel they've destroyed enough territories, and they're going to chill out for a bit, going back, also because they know they're probably going to lose all their money now. So yeah, they back off a bit. Okay, we can erase that. How they do get things. Firstly, Albania, a new puppet government is installed in Albania, and Albania is turned into a complete official puppet state of these guys now. Secondly, they're going to actually give this land right here, to Albania. They don't want the these guys to have it, but it's going to be a separate, semi-autonomous, kind of shared with Carthage province of Albania. These guys don't get anything but a lot of economic retribution, and yeah, that's basically it for the peace treaty. Now we can move on to the next part of this episode, which Let me check what that is. Let me go on my notes. Uh, okay, yeah, I remember this. France and Iberia, the two closest allies I have ever seen. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. After seeing the absolute destruction of Rome, France is insanely disappointed, and so they're gonna invade something that no one thought they were gonna invade. Once a symbol of unity and peaceful negotiations, they're going to invade this little claim thing that everyone claims. They're gonna start mobilizing troops here. A lot of troops, as you can see. These guys are gonna be like, bro, what the hell are you doing? Can you chill out for a bit? And they're gonna be like, I bet. And they're going to actually accidentally, quote unquote, invade a lot of these territories. Eventually, they're gonna permanently mobilize troops right here, threatening to shoot everyone and actually detaining a lot of the soldiers that enter these lands in order to make free the merchants that enter these lands in order to make free trade and fish. And so these guys are gonna this guy's king is gonna go up here and he's gonna be like, what are you doing, bro? This is shared land between us. And the Romans king also is gonna go there, and he's also gonna be like, "Yo, you know we still exist, right? Like we got cooked and absolutely whooped around, but we still exist, right?" And these guys are gonna be like, "You know we're the strongest ones out of all of you right now, right?" And this guy's gonna be like, "Oh, you want to do that? We can probably defeat you in a 1v1 on Fortnite." And these guys are gonna accept that challenge. No, in other words, what's actually gonna happen is these guys are gonna send some of their forces, and a little clash is gonna happen here, and France is gonna use that as their excuse. They are gonna pull out from there, but only to push over here. So quickly, it's a war between France and Iberia. The real reason for this is because France is kind of sick of Iberia and Rome, and they think because a lot of the reason they were a part of these guys was because of the access to the sea and stuff. But now they're just like, we could probably just get this access from destroying them. How they needed a reason to betray their 100 years old allies and have their population not yell at them. So after a lot of patriotism and actually showing how idiotic these guys are for losing to the red team, quickly the capital is besieged and Rome is getting insanely scared. Now these guys beg the Romans to come over here and help, and the Romans do that. They're gonna send a ship all the way from here to here, and they're gonna get stopped here because the red team is gonna be. You are not allowed to send military through here, little bro. And after paying a hefty amount of taxes, they're going to go through the red team choke point, around and around. And the red team knows where this is going. However, they don't care because they know France is going to combo these guys, and they're going to land right here. The most deadly invasion the Romans have attempted is going to take place. More than 5 million men. Horrible quality, but like 5 million men. One goal: get to the French capital. France's total army, 2 million. 1.5 million of those currently serving in Iberia. 500,000 troops versus 5 million troops. Who's going to win? Masterfully, these guys are going to forget that they have no supply lines. And so, after the cutting of this supply line right here, okay, that may have been a little bit too much. Um, so after the cutting of that supply line, the Romans are going to get trapped very deeply. However, they have one goal, and that is to get to the French capital. About 200 mil, no, 200k of them are going to die just getting over here from raids, like pirate raids and stuff. Another 200,000 are going to die in that thing. And so far, the French have lost about 50,000. Meanwhile, another set of troops are sent out from here, and they also begin little fights over here. However, they're not doing well at all. And the French also sent an elite force too to assassinate the king. However, that about lands like about over here to basically storm the capital. And after capturing this little thing, these guys get scared and withdraw about 2 million of those men, who quickly come back and do crush this. However, that means these guys are at about 2.4 million. I'm just going to say I don't even want to do the maths. Quickly, France pulls something that might actually be genius. They light the surrounding area on fire. No food left. These guys all slowly by slowly, surely wither away. 50,000 men left, and they defect and join France. The greatest, the strongest, the biggest army Rome has ever had has just fallen to the hands of their old allies. These guys over here, meanwhile, also defect and join the side of the French. Yeah, imagine sending your greatest troops and they just defect. That's crazy. Meanwhile, France is going to completely cut this off from Roman aid, and as the capital continues to be scared, France is going to continue to absolutely whoop these guys around until eventually completely destroying this land, capitulating it, and signing a peace treaty. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. I'm not going to cut it out because it's a very fast peace treaty. This entire country is becoming a part of France. You know what else is becoming a part of France? This thing, soon. Currently, it's claimed by both people. It's claimed by the French and it's claimed by the Romans. So I'm not allowed to color it either color yet. Because both of these guys, I would say, have relatively the same control in here. Now, Rome, I genuinely just feel bad for Rome. This is a Persia level fall off, I'm not going to lie. This fall off can only be measured by the likes of Persia. Persia and these guys are probably on the same level of fall. Like, y'all were at the peak of the world. And y'all somehow, you sold, let's be honest. You don't lose all of these lands. You just don't. Anyway, with that done, we can now go back to Australia for some Australian development. So Japan landed over here. Blue team is going to send their own boat because they heard of this island too. And they're actually going to go with Crimea, who is going to set up a little southern colony right here alongside. I think Crimea is going to do it, but also right next to Crimea, another country is going to do it, and that's going to be Shanghai. I don't know why they would select this place to do it. Like, this is like across all of Australia to get here. However, I guess they couldn't afford the land up there in actual Australia. I know technically this is the more populated Australia in our timeline, but in this timeline, I'm going to be honest with you right now. If you're not in the north, you are not getting nothing. Anyway, so blue team, they're gonna colonize this entire island, Crimea. They're going to all those uncolonization efforts, bro. What happened to those? These guys were yapping so much about how they're not gonna colonize any land. Okay, liars. I told y'all, they're liars. They never do this. They always say they're not gonna colonize anything, and then they colonize the entire island. Um, so they're gonna capture that, and then Shanghai is gonna establish their first overseas colony since the fall of Japan. More importantly, the blue team is gonna walk over here with a force of 2 million men. And war. So quickly, the Japanese who kicked out the Romans from here are wait, that's the wrong color. Who kicked out the Romans from here are now going to get kicked out by the blue team. And I don't even know how to explain this because let's be honest, these guys are not making it. And easy dubs. Blue team's actually going to turn this entire island after discovering a lot of it. They're gonna move up. They're gonna capture New Zealand completely, and the rest of this island is actually going to get turned into. Actually, hold up. Wait, they're gonna colonize one more chunk of it right over here, and the rest of the island is going to actually get turned into. Um, actually, hold up. They're gonna colonize a little bit more of it. Okay, let's do this really quickly. Let's do that, and then we're gonna do that. They're gonna decolonize this. Hear me out. Let them cook. They're actually doing something good for once. So they're going to do this. Then they're going to pull up over here. And okay, they're going to pull up over here, and then they're going to do that. And this is the New Zealand, while the rest of the country is actually going to get turned into an international science facility. International, anyone can use it, and the entire island is just for learning more about our environment, military, economy, just everything. It's also going to become the base of, in the future, a lot of things like the UN. For example, if that thing ever ends up coming back, I don't feel like it will. However, just in case. So it actually becomes an international council hub, meet and greet location. That's what these guys are going to do with it. And a lot of the tribes that lived here, they're going to get put to a very high status by the blue team. And the reason blue team is doing this is because they need a somewhat isolated area for one, their own military achievements, but two, an area away from all the chaos of the world so that there can be peace in at least some part of this world. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.